were and are the Druids, for we haven't left. Venture forth with me into the mystic realm of the Druid lineages. The word Druid is shadowed by supposed sacrificial rites to low and vile false gods. Were they, though, in truth, the bearers of truth, wisdom, and magic? This lineage, connected to the revered lineage of the Merlins, or the Merlions, carries a radiant torch of love and primordial wisdom. Let us now embark on a voyage through the veils of time once again, as we often do here in the Awakening Magick channel, and wind into the depths of the essence of truth surrounding the Druids, the ancestral lineage, and the profound wisdom that flows within those of kindred blood. The ancient wisdom dances in harmony with the ever-evolving cosmos and helps us understand the time that we're in right now. Please move with me into the eternal now. If you can, please close your eyes. Now imagine that we're gathering around the eternal flames of the sacred fire once again, so that we can bask in its radiant glow, for it illuminates not only the night sky, but also our souls. And in this enchanted space, we are transported to primordial times where tales of wonder and magic were woven into the very fabric of our existence. The warmth of the fire caresses our spirits, beckoning us to share stories of our journeys and quests. Now, many of us are remembering and powerfully reclaiming how to return to living in our true form as not only a transparent, vulnerable, and authentic human, but more so to speak and show up as our soul stream of consciousness. Now, many would say higher selves, but I use the river of consciousness that we are. We are ancient, eternal, and we are part of the infinite God source of original creation, and the Trinity that flows from this primeval essence of all that is. We are the seekers. And as a beautiful Druid of the Celtic-Druid temple in Ireland, who I have been connected with for some time now, Con Connor, he stated, "This is the seeker as warrior, stalking truth like the hunter stalking prey. You must hold focus on what resonates or feels good in your heart as you eliminate system control conditioning bit by bit every day." And I just love that. Thank you, Con. Beautiful wisdom. And this has been the journey for many of us since we were birthed into this realm, and then others, of course, awaken more and more every single day at a very rapid pace. And I know that anyone here that's listening to me speak these words right now will already know that Druids aren't evil. But what I want to do is share these truths out loud, speak the frequencies so that more and more can know, and this can start filling the ever so populated internet lands with actual truth rather than the opposite, the inversions, the misinformation, and the purposeful destruction of truth. For as long as I can remember, I knew in my sacred heart that I am a Druid and I am a pagan of the old. And I knew this truth because I hold the keys in my DNA. It's in my causal energetic body from a mechanics standpoint. And of course, from my higher selves, from the avatar being that I am here as. And I held these keys of wisdom even as a kid. And like many of us, not born into a family that could even grasp me and that essence. So I actually got called pagan in a nasty way. And I would reply with thank you. Now, what would make a young girl say thank you to something that was clearly meant to be a spit of anger upon me? And I didn't know it then, but I for sure do now. I knew in the depths of my being, but I wasn't so great at speaking this truth at that time. I wasn't so great at understanding my power of that truth. And I didn't understand that the sacred bond that I held was totally unbreakable. I knew that I was holding something sacred, but even if others had tried to break that over time, it never did. We carry these persecution wounds in many incarnations when we carry this kind of information that's always weaving and is in formation in the intelligence of the all. And so the persecution wounds don't end even in this timeline, but they've shifted the way that persecutions happen, right? And we all come to realize that most of us who do get persecuted in this way, they're just working from a place of ignorance, meaning often just ignoring the truth. And often those people are going to be family or in our bloodlines. When we're kids or teens, these kinds of words just don't flow very easily. And well, at least they didn't for me, because we're often scared. I was scared to say the truth we feel within for the most part, though it squeaked out often, and there would be repercussions for that. And now this kind of environment is not the case with all indigo starseeds, and as I say, the cosmic wanderers, but I would dare say that it's for the majority of us. That's how it goes. And this is just a hurdle. It's part of the journey. Our quests will be riddled with so much of that, and we must endure through that. In fact, you wouldn't have ever heard me say these words in front of a big audience before I realized some years ago now that we must speak our truths. We must be bold. We must hold and speak out these ancient wisdom truths. Well, nay, make that primordial wisdom, because that is what wisdom keepers do. So I'm going to be speaking from, as I always do, it's my soul stream of consciousness, from all dimensions and from the remembering that's within me connected into this being that we call Gaia. And I know timelines, and I remember them. I remember them as memories. And this is the way that it must be here forward. We must speak from our memories, because the inversions and distortions of truths are everywhere. They're held in books, internet lands, etc. But when you're attached to the primeval truth of original creation, you feel the truth no matter what, be it in a book, be it on the internet, be it in videos. We must use our primordial discernment tools that we hold within us. And I remember, as my own ancestor, and from the reclamation of this avatar being that I represent, that I spent many incarnations within this aspect of Druid. And from that, of course, there's the word witch, there's the word priestess, there's a lot of words, priest and priestess, etc. But again, even those names have been inverted. And when I showed up in other incarnations, timelines, if you will, I was always in female form. And I carried the aspect of the female goddess warrior lineage. In fact, Druid has been used indifferently of both sexes. So a Druid was not a male. That is always and was always and will always be incorrect. So Druids were any sex. Male, female, does not matter. And I'm using the primordial meaning when I say warrior always with this aspect of sacred warrior. So one who serves as a guardian protector. And what I know from the remembering is I fell in love with humanity, and I had vowed always to protect and serve Earth Terra Gaia and the mother of dragons, the blue dragon Tiamat, the world soul, as well as the cosmic mother and the true Christos teachings. And the truth is, for me, it's been a tattered love affair because there's been so much suffering. So these are the truths that we also must speak of when we speak of Druid. So there's a timeline rebellion in which other dimensional non-human forces came in and started to claim ownership of Earth and humans. And this wasn't the first realm that this has happened to. There have been others. But this included a desired takeover also of dragon and of the planetary being. So this is the planetary infrastructure. This specific rebellion and infusion of these negative factions came in trying to take hold of Earth, Terra, Gaia, and of course all the resources within it, which of course included humans. And this faction began secretly infiltrating, taking over. This is the structures you see today. You'll see these factions in all positions of supposed power all over this world. Yet these beings also are not in this realm either. So there's also what I would call vile sorcery from other realms coming in through frequencies. So this has been a very multifaceted approach. And this had begun the genocidal agendas to eradicate many aspects, including the Druid lineages and beings incarnate that held Grail wisdom. And I've gone over this before in other videos. So the Grail wisdom of the very DNA, and it's held in the DNA and are the keepers of the blue flame. Also extend this out into the blue ray and the cosmic mother frequencies and so much more. So this reaches into other timelines because there was at one time the timeline of Terra and then also Gaia. And then of course we know of this great fall. And Atlantean was within that Gaian construct. And I know many of you resonate and you were there too. And so many of these groups during the genocide fled and went into many areas. When genocides happened, it was like the infusion came in into a specific region in what we call Earth. And then they fled. And then fleeing also within realms. So there was a point when the multidimensional portals were open and beings were able to go back and forth should you carry the correct frequencies. Those have been since shut down for the most part, though there are some that are still protected and utilized. When the genocides came into play, humans were scattering. And this included more than likely the original Israelites scattering into Ireland, into Scotland and Wales and the Picts. And all of these humans were at that point scattering into these varying areas just to survive. And so this is the genocide of tens of thousands of years ago. And then it continued again thereafter. And we still see this today. So the Druids were hunted down. And in many ways they are still today. But it's in different ways. I'm bringing these words through. Chills just wash over my entire being. And if you notice that tears start coming to my eyes, it's because the suffering has been so deep. And I know that from my specific soul stream of consciousness, didn't incarnate for thousands of years. Because after that happened, I felt that I had observed, but I was really taking those generations to heal. And the reason why I even know this or felt into this, I'll just share because these are experiences that we need to document. So there was one day years ago when I was just doing yoga and I was meditating under a tree on the grass, and the sun was just shining down on my face. And I just had this moment of, I needed to ask, show me the more of who I am, essentially. And then all the previous versions of how I've come through in this specific stream within this realm of Earth, Terra, Gaia lined up behind my left shoulder. So literally, I just saw boom, boom, boom. Now, at first, I thought those were my ancestors in general. And then after deep reflection thereafter, I was like, that was not my ancestors. That was me as my own ancestor. And so what it showed me is that it was on the left because it was representative of the divine feminine. And then what happened is as that expanded, it all came slamming back into my being. And I was kneeling at that time, and I fell to the ground and I just started crying. And it was tears of joy, but it was this wave of all these memories that were crashing into my being. And what I actually felt was grief, strong grief mixed with joy. And it just spread throughout the entirety of my beingness. And it's in that moment that I realized that there are some things that happen that shake us to the very core, even of the eternal beings known as goddesses in the creator realms. And so what happens is there's so much healing that needs to take place before embarking on another incarnation and experience once again. And what I've been shown is that for my particular weaving of consciousness, I have not incarnated since the time of King Arthur and Queen Guinevere. This suffering aspect, I bring this up because we need to talk about this. Yes, we are all one. This is truth. But there are beings that separated from unity. And that is a truth that we must speak. It doesn't mean that suffering is always necessary. The vile ones that continue the extreme path of vile acts have caused unnecessary suffering. And it's in that unnecessary part of that which causes so much healing to take place, even from consciousness that streams from the God realms or the creator realms. When these consciousnesses serve as cosmic wanders to go where aid is needed, to help, assist, and serve in some way. The truth is that if you're carrying grief and despair within your being, it's not explainable, and you have this almost unexplainable adoration for nature and all of living creation, I would say that you're going to have many connections into the nature of what a druid means. If you have not already, this could be very powerful explorations for you. You will more than likely have deep connections also into fairy beings, the Merlin or Merlion lineage, and so much more. So I can only fit so much into this video. So I'll do the best I can. And of course, this is a book unfolding, but telling such grand stories in a really short time just doesn't allow to capture all the truths that I want to explain, but it gives us a little weaving into the quest of the druid. As I usually like to do, let's go into what the druid as a word really means, because this actually can bring a lot of truth into this. And we can explore what a pagan means as well, because the druid way of being is pagan, but the pagans weren't all druids. So that's just something to highlight. But druid is a word that we could trace back also into many cultures. But of course, the words would be slightly different due to the language. So let's look at the word druid. So druid means strong seer, and has truth literally embedded into the word. And so to see the truth of the word, we must go to the pi roots. So we'll look at diru and weed, or vid, but in Old Irish, a druid is actually drui. So the Old Irish form was connected also into the word magician. So you can go down that whole pathway too. But diru, the pi root of the word, means tree or solid. And so that's also connected into D-R-E-U. And then the pi root, vid, or W-E-I-D, means to see. So what we can garner from this is that the Druids are a lineage of seers, connected to the wisdom of trees, but this isn't just about a tree that we see in nature, though of course that is a representative of the tree. We can think about the tree of life, the true 12-grid system of the tree of life, which is mechanics of how we operate and how we manifest into a physical form. And so we have to see the tree as having many layers to it. And also it's connected into the aspect of tree, which is strength, rooted in wisdom and being steadfast. What comes through is rooted in truth, nature, and knowledge, to see beyond with skills of original creation magic. This is the phrase that comes up for me when I think of druid. And so the Druid lineages are of the ancient builder races from the god realms, or the creator realms, we could say. And of course, there were scribes, mages, and seers. And as scribes, they were scribes who also recorded the mechanics of creation and worked on those recordings into the Emerald Founder records. So that's why many of us within the lineage hold and know and feel and connect into the ancient builder races. And much of what Druid, or as a lineage, has done is basically wisdom keeping and holding, we could say, secrets of the Magick Grail. And this also includes the truth of crystal, or Christos consciousness, which of course then that word became Christ. And that word Christ, as we well know, has been so distorted. And I've mentioned this before in other teachings. But that Christos consciousness, it's always been about consciousness. And there have been and are many master teachers of this consciousness and ways to bring this back into this realm. So therein lies the truth of what wisdom keepers actually are. And all of this connects back into the Celtic Druid Grail bloodlines. During the genocides, which were rampant and came often and in all corners of this world, we had to organize and we had to go underground in order to protect the genetic records and Gnostic wisdom of the original Magick Grail lineages. And this includes ancient texts, all of those things that had to become hidden because there was just destruction of the artifacts, scrolls and such, but actually the humans holding those truths. And so then what happened, much of this was actually coded into future generations, into the DNA. We are the future generations, which have been populating for many generations. And I have a video talking about the generations of starseeds and indigos and cosmic wanderers and how this has worked in the waves of us coming through. As druids, we're able to innately see beyond this world, realms beyond this realm. And this, what I have woven this into, is that it connects into a word called dralas. The drala principle refers to a body of teachings, and you can go on this journey too, but it's a body of teachings of the Tibetan Buddhist meditation master Chogyam Trungpa. And this drala principle refers to, we can see this is weaving into so many different spiritual areas that are held within so many different teachings. Again, now I'm talking about Tibet, right? What I am trying to connect here is the fact that Druids actually were also in Tibet, but they weren't called Druids per se. So we would just change the words based on languages at the time, or the culture. But the interesting thing is that the Drala principle and Tibet saw massive genocide too. Why would that be? Well, we know why, right? Truth was trying to be eradicated. And according to research that I've done, Drala is the elemental presence of the world that is available to us through sensory or sense perceptions. And so when we open ourselves to plants, to trees, to the flowers, to a bubbling creek, to clouds, what we're actually tapping into is actual wisdom, though this wisdom is not separate from us. So beholding a river is much more than just merely looking at a river. What we are meeting is, according to the teachings of what I'm speaking of, is you're meeting the Dralas. So this aspect, this is what Druids tapped into. This is a portion of what I speak of when I say original creation magic. And so the way I see this is Druids always were and always will be. We will say different words, different languages will different ways to say it, but the essence that we follow is basically the path that was taken as we wandered across the entire realm and in the beyond into other densities of different timelines, like Terra and Gaia, for example, and then of course circling back down into Earth once again. So here we are today. So the weaving on Earth was basically what we're doing is we're looking at different areas of the world because people had to run and hide from the genocide. These beings had to run and hide from the genocide. The negative factions that to this day are still trying to weave their vile low magic, but of course this is coming to an end once and for all. And when I say for all, I truly mean this for all timelines and realms. This all connects into one huge aspect. Being a druid means being an enlightened warrior. And we've had to carry this across all of space and time. What we can piece together is 20,000 years ago, let's say, there was a strategy and this genocidal agenda to eradicate the Magick Grail. This is, of course, the Druid lineages that went into effect at that time. And so what was trying to be eradicated is the true Christos teachings. And then there was a purposeful hunting, purposeful spreading of disinformation, destroying of the true records of origin, artifacts, scrolls, texts, you name it. Now, the negative factions are of many different varying races, but one such being that has weaved into this, unfortunately, is Thoth. Don't forget that there are humans that choose that path, and then there are those that get enslaved into that vile path. So there's that aspect of it. But the crazy thing is that they were actually the ones that were sacrificing the Druids. Anyone that really lived a pagan-free, living in harmony way of life was getting eradicated. And then the misinformation is, okay, well, once most of those that they were hunting went underground, we could say, well, what do they get to do? They get to change the story, don't they? And so then they made it out to be that Druids were the ones doing the sacrificing. This is the vile strategy that we've been up against over and over and over. And so if you do a search on Druid, as many of you may have already, you'll see the inverted lies, the distortions that actually come up in that search to this day. And I found one that's a good one, Museum of Wales. So they have a whole article, and in it says human sacrifice. A revival of interest in Druids began during the Renaissance, when translations of classical Greek and Roman texts became widely available. A number of sources describe the Druids as performing human sacrifice. Places of worship were described as isolated wooded groves and near sacred pools and lakes. According to one source, the Druidic groves of Mona or Anglesey had the blood of prisoners drenched upon their altars. Absolutely not. Lies and distortions. You know what the truth was? The Druids were placed upon these altars and they were sacrificed. So these are the lies, these are the distortions, these are the untruths that we must eradicate once and for all. Bit by bit, the primordial great ones have been reduced to whores, witches, as if it's a negative thing, tricksters. And so the vile ones took the Celtic Druid culture and has become replaced with dogma from false religions and the vile churches that took the true teachings and hid them. In fact, this is even true about the celebrations. So the Druidic and pagan ways of celebrating. It was original creation celebration of the sun, with the sun. And they weren't worshiping the sun. It wasn't about worship. It was honor. It was respect. These are different words. And what the truth of the eightfold wheel of the year slowly turned into these nonsensical, total bullshit holidays that we see today, i.e. Christmas. You name the holiday and you can go down the path of seeing how it was inverted. And so these holidays are actually inversions of the holy days that were sacred in a time before. And so in hopes to bring the truth of those times back, my friend and I have created the Eightfold Wheel of the Year series. They're a workshop series. There's a link below to join us. What I know is we need to connect in the ways of truth once again. We can look at symbols that have actually been carried through and, of course, often inverted as we well know. But a symbol from Druid times is the Awen. And it stands for the 3 words for Druidry that illuminates the light amidst darkness, which is nature, knowledge, and truth. And this 3, of course, is relating to the Trinity, the Holy Real Trinity. And this is also was inverted in the church versions of the Christos teachings. And so the Awen, also you have rays of light of the sun. And so the 3 circles surrounding the symbol indicate the cyclical and timeless nature of these trinities, as well as the 3 circles of creation. We have cosmic mother, we have cosmic father, and then we have creation. We have also, you could say, God's source or original primeval source, and then cosmic mother and cosmic father. It also represents the 3 divisions, mind, body, spirit. And then, of course, then you have the underworld, middle world, upper world, which stands for the power of 3. So 3 was to represent original creation. And then, of course, the sun celebrations, the eightfold wheel of the year that I was just talking about, celebrates the sky, land, and sea. So, as you can see, primordial wisdom was truly woven into the fabric of all things that were integrated into the Druidic teachings. As you can probably tell, I could go on and on and on, but we'll save some more for next time. And of course, a book unfolding. But in the meantime, please do join us for the Wheel of the Year celebrations. We would love to have you there. And I hope that this video helps you to awaken more of your magic and helps us together to remember original creation magic. Subscribe so you can get more videos that are meant to illuminate the path for the indigos, star seeds, and all the cosmic wanderers, all humans who are here with sacred missions, serving as the pioneers in this massive paradigm shift of consciousness. And as always, I'm sending a big thank you for watching this video.